ask you, first of all, before all of that happened, where were you in life that you decided, I'm going to do something new, and you mentioned go to Florida?
I was living in New Jersey,
Okay.
which is where I'm originally from. And I was in a rock and roll band,
Okay.
singing in a rock and roll band in the early 70s. This was in the early 70s. And the band broke up. And I had a Chevy van, which was customized, you know, and ready to live in, and a pocket full of money at that point, you know, this, from the band. And I said to a couple buddies of mine, hey, let's go to Florida.
Why not?
And so we packed the van up and we went to Florida. Yeah, I'd always wanted to go. I can remember when I was a kid going to visit my aunt and uncle, and I would go down there. It was kind of like a magical place for me, you know. Yeah.
Oh, did they live near where you ended up going?
They lived in Fort Lauderdale.
Okay.
So, and back then it was not like it is now. It was,
bet.
you know, it was small. And
A lot has changed in Florida since the 70s.
especially in Fort Lauderdale. Fort Lauderdale has gotten gigantic.
I bet. I
Yeah,
bet. So
yeah.
you
They just keep
decided-
going west and west and west, and they turn the cow fields into houses and shopping centers, you know. But yeah, back in those days, this was in the '60s, you know, and we used to go down, and I said, oh, this is palm trees and manatees
Yeah.
and all that magical stuff, you
Yep.
know, and the ocean. Of course, we had the ocean in New Jersey, but you know.
Not Florida.
No, it's not Florida. And so we went. So I went, and off we went to Florida
With your buddies in your Chevy.
in my Chevy van. That's right.
Nice. And where did you guys end up in Florida?
Well, we went to Miami because we had a friend there.
Okay.
And when we got to Miami, he said, "Well, I'm going to Key West for the New Year's Eve celebration. You guys want to go?" And so we said, "Well, sure."
Why not?
I mean, you know, we're young. I was 23, something like that, you know, 24. And so we followed him down there, and there was an area, and we went to Key West.
Okay, that's
West.
about as far as you can get, right?
As far as you can go, unless you're in a boat.
Yeah, especially considering Miami is really far from everywhere else in the U.S. And then Key West, that's even further.
Yeah, well, you got to get, there's a chain of islands. They call them Keys, and each one has its own unique culture, I guess you could say. You know, each one, you go down Largo and on. They have, some of them are real tiny. There's not even really a town or anything in them. You just kind of cross a bridge, go over onto the key, and
To the next
to the
one.
next one. Yeah, and then you know some of the bridges are super long over the ocean. Very beautiful. You know, it's ocean's real. Anyway,
Yeah.
so we got to Key West, and we wanted to set up, you know, somewhere to camp. You know, so we asked around to the locals, you know, and they said, "Oh yeah, there's a piece of property, you know, a piece of land. It's undeveloped. Just take this dirt road, you know, go down this road and take a dirt road and go into the woods there." And so we went there.
This wasn't a campground, it's
No,
just
it was
land.
It was just land.
Nice.
What it was this land had originally it was going to be developed, and the EP and they had started developing it. So there was roads that went back in there, but there was also a lot of wild still in there. You know, mangrove swamps and. You know, woods and so on, because the EPA came in and said, no, this is going to be protected. It's the only piece left in Key West that's like this, and we're going to protect this property, so you can't build here.
Okay.
So consequently, there it was. So anyway,
For you.
yeah,
Perfect for camping.
yeah. So we set up, and we were there. You know, we put up our tent. You know, I mean. See, I had my van. I had the luxury quarters.
Yes.
They had a van. They had a tent. So, shortly after we got set up, probably that same day, if I remember correctly, the police came.
Oh.
They came by. A cop, you know, a police officer came, and we said, "Is this okay? Can we camp here? You know, because we were told that this was okay to do this." And
Yeah.
and he said, "Well, I don't care. He said, I don't care. He said, but other cops might chase you.
Okay.
So he said, my advice would be to scour this piece of property. This is a police officer telling us this, and find a place to hide the tent. Find a place to hide the tent. So that's exactly what we did. We went out on an expedition on this property.
Nice.
And we looked. We walked all around. I mean, we were talking. I don't know. It wasn't a huge piece of property. I mean, a couple hundred acres.
That's nice.
Yeah.
That's good.
You know what I'm saying?
You can hide in that.
Yeah, and we found the nicest, most dense jungle that we could find. And we set up a home site there.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
And that was the hidden spot.
And there it was. Yeah, there it was. There it was. And we they had these giant hibiscus bushes that would grow in Florida. They're wild. You know, I don't know if you know hibiscus.
Yeah, it's like that kind of.
It's a cultivated
red flower.
plant, right? And they have but they have them wild in Florida, and they grow gigantic, and they grow the red flowers, and which is where they began. You know, that was the origin of that. And so we took a machete, a couple of machetes, and we hollowed out the inside of that bush so that I could pull my silver van into that bush and then pull from the stuff we cut. We got vines and we lashed them together, and we made like a door that went across the back end of this thing, and I would pull my van in and pull the door across, and then I would be totally hidden.
You made a bat cave out of hibiscus.
Yes,
That's amazing.
An hibiscus bat cave.
That is ingenious.
Perfect. Yeah, because the property was right behind the Key West International Airport. So we could see planes taking off all the time. So we had to just kind of be
on the sly.
Well, we were low key, yeah. But I mean, actually, we were high keyed, but because we had
drugs are not short supply.
No. Well, back then, yeah.
Sure. So you guys camped there, and how did it grow from there?
Well, you know, we set up the tent, and we cleared the area so we could, you know, there was an area that we could clear, and we, like I said about the van, and so we had that done, and then we cut a path, and what we did was we cut the path with switchbacks so that normal people,